Today on Free Field Training, we're taking a look at my police duty belt. There are some things that are old, some things that are brand new, and some things that are reaching the end of their useful service life and will need to be replaced. We're going to go through all of that as we go through the video. We're also going to be looking at my armor carrier, the body armor that I'm using, and the equipment that I keep on there, and this will make a lot more sense in the context of these two things working together as a set. One big thing that has changed is medical. You're going to see a lot more medical gear on here and different ways of carrying it, along with new handcuffs, a new duty weapon, some differences in batons and lights, and then a bunch of things that have stayed relatively the same, and I think have kind of reached the pinnacle of the technology we're going to have with them. For a lot of this stuff, it was sent to me. If you haven't followed Free Field Training in the past, please subscribe, hit that little bell notification down below so you can see more videos like this and some other interesting videos that I've done on similar topics. Because this channel has gotten so big, I have the opportunity to use lots of equipment before it comes out. A lot of this is brand new stuff that I get to T&E. There are going to be links and coupon codes and any of that down in the description down below. Make sure you check those out. If you do use those links and the coupon codes, I make a little bit of money, which helps the channel out and allows me to make more cool setups like this to show to all of you and give you some insights into using this full-time as a police officer on the road in a pretty rough area, into how these things work in real life. So without further ado, we're going to start with a thing that has changed the most on my belt, and that is medical equipment. Over on my vest, we'll see in a couple of minutes, I've got a medical kit with lots of cool stuff on it and a tourniquet. On the front of my pistol, I also have a tourniquet. This is on a Black Box Customs bracket. There's a tourniquet pouch from Allegiance Holsters and a cat tourniquet, the newest generation of cat tourniquet inside. We are transitioning to cat tourniquets in my agency. Lots of places are, because you can carry more of them, and for uniformity of training, people are transitioning over to this, and I am doing the same. Right now, that hasn't become completely uniform, so I'm using two different tourniquets, which I hope to change in the very near future. Another brand new thing is my duty pistol. I am currently using a Walther PDP 5-inch pistol with a Steiner MPS on it and a Surefire X300. This gives me a lot of firepower. It gives me a lot of accuracy. It gives me a lot of capabilities that my old duty pistols did not have. Coming from a Glock handgun, there isn't as much aftermarket for this yet, but the performance that it gives me with very minimal transition training was well worth the transition over. I have a whole video on the Walther PDP and police duty pistols in general that I will link up there or down below. I think you'll find it interesting if this type of stuff interests you. Chief among the advantages of the Walther PDP is the ability to co-witness the dot optic with the iron sights that come with it, so that there is very little transition between not having the dot optic and having the dot optic. If you can track the iron sights like you normally would, the dot comes right into focus, which is a huge advantage in transitioning to this type of pistol and this setup with a dot optic on top of a full-size duty handgun. I also transitioned from Streamlight weapon lights to a Surefire X300. This allows me to activate the light with a thumbs forward push of the button, or to put it constant on without intermingling my fingers too much into the trigger guard area, which is something I like to avoid. It also increases capacity a little bit and gives me standoff with the Surefire X300. Overall, I think this is the best package for a duty pistol out there on the market today, and I've seen a lot of them and played with a lot of them. There's a video up there about police duty pistols, and also down below in case you're interested in knowing more about police handguns. My handcuffs have also changed. I'm using two different types of ASP handcuffs. I'm using their Ultra Performance models back there, and I'm also using their new version that is a lot more affordable. These, instead of the old ASP handcuffs that ran $65, $70, or $100, these are running about $35, and they fit into many legacy handcuff pouches made for Smith & Wesson or Peerless cuffs or other types of handcuffs. I really like these. They're an all-metal construction. You keep the handcuff keyholes on both sides and double locking mechanism holes on both sides. They only come in chain right now, but I'm sure hinge versions will come out soon. And they're still slick as snot in their action. In fact, sometimes a little too slick in their action. They also work with some of the ASP legacy handcuff pouches, like this skeletonized polymer pouch, which I really like right up front. The only ding that I'll give these is they kind of ruin the overall black basket weave aesthetic that my duty belt has with this big shiny silver thing. Maybe in the future they'll make a blued version. I think I'd actually prefer that. But as far as functioning handcuffs works, these are really nice. And when you drop them on the ground, if they're bright silver, they're a lot easier to find. Behind my pistol, I have an Asp Infinity baton. This is one of their newer push button model batons. So you can see on the back, there's a button that you push in, you push the button, and the baton closes up quite easily. 21 inches is my preferred length, mostly because that's where most of my training's been done in the academy, is your 20 to 26 inch length area. And I find this is really easy to carry around, and it's pretty unobtrusive until I need it. I keep it back here in a Safariland pouch behind my pistol, and no, it doesn't get in the way of drawing my pistol because with my curvature around my body, it stays completely out of the way, and this pouch can't adjust toward the gun. It can only adjust back and move further out of the way. Up front, I have a rubber glove pouch, and inside I have a boatload of rubber gloves. I found rubber gloves to be very, very, very useful on the street because I touch lots of sticky, nasty people. If you follow the channel for any length of time, you know that finding a good basket weave duty belt has been pretty difficult for me, and I've gone through many of them. Safe Life Defense now makes a basket weave duty belt out of a TPU polymer that is thin and strong, and you can't crush it no matter how hard you push down on it. It is double layered. There's hook side Velcro on this side, and then the inner belt has loop side Velcro to attach it to, and when you attach the hook to the loop through your belt, you don't even need belt keepers to hook it all together, although I still do normally wear a couple just because I don't ever trust any technology, at least for the next couple of years. They're made with legitimate Cobra buckles, and they're made in USA. I actually got to go see where these were built and got to take part in some of the design process with this belt. Really interesting technology, and the great thing about it is this material is not going to crack or fray. There's no edges to come loose like other brands' belts. I really, really like them, and they're working out really well for me on the street. On the other side of my belt, I have a Taser X26P. In the issued holster, I have a pair of Asp Model 100. These are the new metal framed handcuffs that they have. There is no metal frame and then a polymer shell around it. These are all metal all the way through. You don't have that issue that older legacy model handcuffs had where if you were trying to fight them onto somebody, the bows wouldn't go inside of the frame. These lock straight through all the time. You don't have those same issues. And I have a Motorola APX 7000 series radio. This is in a Turtleback Cases case. This case allows me to switch out the battery on the radio without even having to take it off of my belt. It also allows me to charge the radio by taking the radio off of here, throwing it into the charger, and because the contacts for the battery are at the bottom and are exposed, it means I don't have to take it out of the case. It's very convenient. It's 180-degree swivel, so I don't have to worry about it coming off. The only complaint that I have with this setup is you can see the size of the antenna on these. So I always use the small battery, even though I have a larger battery. The larger batteries on these are enormous. And so you end up with something that's almost 2 feet long sticking off the side of your body. And if you mount this on your armor carrier, you end up with the antenna poking you in the eye. I'm not a radio guy, so I don't know really how to get around that. But so far, my solution has been to wear it on my belt, have the small radio battery so it doesn't poke me in the butt all day while I'm driving, and to use a shoulder mic. This shoulder mic is reaching the end of its useful service life, as you can see. I'm thinking about replacing it with a wired instead of a tube earpiece. Some of the new wired earpieces that have come out are supposedly a lot more durable, and if anybody's going to break them, it's me. So I'm going to look into those. This is just your normal shoulder microphone from Motorola that links in with the APX 7000 series radios. Now moving on to the vest cover here, a lot of this stuff is not the way that I wear it on the street. I had a lot of comments when I did this video in the past talking about how my keys would never stay in that pocket on the street. Well, I don't carry my keys in my pocket like that. Those are slid in my waistband between my belt and my pants, and they're on a Kubotan because, yes, I'm that old. And those stay there, and I've never had a problem with them coming out, even jumping fences and such. The knife, oh, that would never stay in there. Yeah, it wouldn't. This gets clipped to my pocket like a normal person carries a pocket knife. The vest cover itself is from a company called Eagle Uniform. The issued body armor that I have is from Point Blank. It's a Point Blank Level 2 armor. In the front of this, I have a Safe Life Defense Frass plate. It's a 10 by 12 flexible rifle plate. It stops M193, M855, 308, a bunch of stuff. And the idea of that is that it is thinner than polyethylene, it's lighter than ceramic, it is way lighter than steel, and it allows me to attach it to the front of my Point Blank vest with just a strip of hook side Velcro that's like sticky on one side and hook side on the other. It lets me have a rifle plate up front all the time, which is becoming more and more important out on the streets today. I used to have a full Frass vest, and that would give me rifle protection from M193, M855, all 223, 7.62x39, all of that fun stuff, the same stuff that this plate does. And I had a full vest in the front and back, but I had to wear it with my soft armor, and that became a little bit too much for me. If I could just wear the Frass vest, I would go back to it, but having to wear the soft armor behind it was just a bridge too far in my book. The cover itself is from Eagle Uniform. It's custom made, and it's about 4 years old. So you can see there's a significant amount of wear on this with it being 4 years old. I'm going to go over it from top to bottom, left to right, so you get an idea of what we're looking at here. Up here I have what's called a Guardian Angel device. It is a little shoulder flashy thing. I've got a whole video on these and why they're a good idea. You can use them to check IDs. You can use them to use as kind of an area light for searching closets when you have to use both hands. And you can also turn red and blue lights on just in the back of you, so you can have this on your vest cover and have red and blue lights pointing just behind you while you're directing traffic, and hopefully it reduces the likelihood of some idiot hitting you when you're out there swinging a baton around trying to direct traffic. I have also found it extraordinarily useful. I didn't think it would work this well, but if I'm trying to cross the street, I push the big button on top and it throws all the light in the world out. And for whatever reason, not a lot of people have these yet, and traffic actually slows and stops for me when I'm trying to cross streets. If you ever had to work an accident at 2 o'clock in the morning where one person's on one side of a busy interstate or a major street and the other person's on the other side, and you're crossing back and forth between them, that helps having to cross the streets not at a traffic light or signal a whole lot. Very useful little light. The top right shoulder I have, this is wintertime right now. We are in January in the Chicagoland area, and having an extra hat up there that I can just kind of throw on in a hurry is a great thing. I don't like keeping my hat in a pocket because it tends to fall out, or next to me on a seat because it tends to get forgotten. I always keep a hat on my vest anytime it's below about 50 degrees. Up here you normally have the star from my department, and over here my name. I took those off for the video. On the back of this there is a subdued police patch, which has been a big update for us at my agency in the last few years. We used to not be allowed to have those for some sort of FUD reason about it being a big target or some such. Up here I have a pen slot that is designed to fit 2 pens. I normally keep one up here, normally a Pilot G2 or another gel ink pen, because they write even in the wintertime. These don't freeze up in your pocket. There's like an antifreeze solution inside of them. And normally these little clips break off and then it sticks down inside. I've sewn the bottom of this up a little bit so that it can't get further than that inside because the clips tend to break on me. In the middle I've got a placket for the radio mic. I'll throw that on there so you can see how it goes on. It just clips right on there. And when I put it on, I slide it through my handy dandy hair tie that I steal from my wife and my daughter. And look at that, problem solved. Now it's on there, and even if it does get broken and unclipped, it's within easy reach. And it didn't cost me a whole bunch of extra money because I have to buy these in like 25 packs for my kid constantly. Up here is a pocket that is designed for my cell phone. My cell phone is actually streaming on Instagram, so that the Instagram live stream audience can watch what we're talking about here. And then I'm going to take comments and questions for them at the end and hopefully make videos that are like a follow-up the next week or two about the things that they've asked me if they ask me something interesting. Hopefully they do. In this pocket over here, I used to keep a backup flashlight. I don't do that anymore. We'll get into why in a second. I have a Leatherman Wave, which comes in very handy for jiggling doors open. I also have extra sets of keys, and I have a flash drive in here. This I use for training. I can put shadow reports on this flash drive, and I have keys for all of the agency's cars in that pocket, so if I have to hop out of my car into a detective car, I've got the key in there. If I have to hop out of my car into the pickup truck, I've got the key in there. It's all set. A flash drive, I train people, and when I have them brand new and they're doing reports, I just find it easier for me to do the report and have them do what's called a shadow report on a word processor, and then there's no rush on getting the report done, especially on busy afternoon shifts. Also in this pocket, I keep a couple of extra pens and a Sharpie marker. I have the ultra fine tip on one side and your normal Sharpie on the other side. This is extremely useful for marking all sorts of stuff, especially stickers that have to be put on cars and prisoner property, so they're easier to find when you put them up on a shelf. The other side over here, I have a notepad opened to the next 2 blank pages, so when I go to do something, I don't have to flip around and find the pages. And this is a Write in the Rain pad that I got out of a Shield box. I'm still 50-50 on the Write in the Rain pads. They are a lot more expensive, but it is pretty convenient for your notes to not be destroyed when you're standing in a pissing rain. Down here in the slash pockets, this is one of the advantages of having a uniform carrier that's custom made. I keep a little bit of cash. It's always nice to be able to have some extra cash for snacks. And then in this pocket, I keep all of the paperwork for work. So I have FI cards and copies of the Illinois Domestic Violence Act. Those are things that we're required to give out to people. Normally I keep my accident reporting cards in the squad because I'm handing out accident reporting cards. I'm going back and forth to the squad all the time to do paperwork and deal with the computer, so I can just get those in there. I don't have to carry them around. But field interview cards, where if somebody gets, let's say, their garage gets spray painted or their house gets burglarized or whatever, I can ask for the time and number, put it on there, fill the card out, hand it to them, and now they've got access to their report later on. The Illinois Domestic Violence Act, if I've got a domestic and it's on the 3rd floor of the apartment building, I am way too old and fat to be walking up and down apartment building stairs just for funsies, so I keep that on me so that way I can hand it out easily to people. From left to right here, I've got an Allegiance Holsters medical kit. This is a flap on the outside, and on here you can see I've got a patch that says police down here in the corner. This is really useful for ancillary identification. Again, if I'm training somebody, I can put that, look at that, it fits right in the name tag spot. So that way I'm marked at least a little bit more as police. I could also put it on here as identification, and I thought about getting a larger, maybe reflective police patch and putting it on my medical kit, and then maybe just spray painting this red so people can see it's a med kit. Not sure if that would be in policy, but when you're punching a pistol out, it might be nice to have some identification sitting low. I haven't really seen any studies either way on it, but it seems to make sense. I do keep this here, so it's kind of out of the way and unobtrusive for uniforming purposes. You probably didn't even notice that was there until I told you. Most people don't, but it's a convenient place to put it. I've got my old Soft T Wide in here, and then the medical pouch from Allegiance Holsters here. I like that it's thin and how close it is to your body, and that it doesn't come loose easily, but one of the problems that I had was that this pouch comes from them with it all sealed up so it stays nice and tight, and you can see you've got packaging sticking out from the outside. So like, as a range option, or if you're willing to keep up on that packaging all the time, to reheat seal it all the time, that's not a big deal, and it makes it easy to open up. And then these are pre-scored, so you can just rip it open and get in your medical supplies. I don't like having to maintain stuff if I can avoid it. So what I did is I got a Crown Royal black bag, and I shoved that in there. So that way it looks black from the outside, and it keeps the bag from ripping and tearing and getting abraded, and you really can't tell that it's a black Crown Royal bag from outside. Over here I have a Phoenix laser flashlight. What's the model on this? HT30R. These are really great for throw, extraordinarily high candela lights. It's almost a use of force option. They're so bright, but it's just a little tiny spot. This one has just enough Corona around the outside. It gives just enough flood in the room that it could be used as a backup light. And so when I switched over from 15 round mags to 18 round mags with one in the pipe, I got rid of one of the magazines on my vest, and I've been carrying this around. So it's a good option for long distance throw. It is my backup light, and it replaced one of the mags with the capacity change. I'm still going back and forth on whether I like having this right up front or if I'm going to put it somewhere else, put the third mag back. Put down in the comments what you think. Would you rather have the third mag or a light that can throw like this thing can and use as a backup light? This one I like because it charges pretty easily through a USB-C right in the side, so if it does start to go dead, I can plug it in the same way I plug my phone in, because, you know, I'm cheap and poor, and so I don't have an iPhone. Got my 2 mags for my duty pistol right there, and then over here I have a Nitecore SRT7. I am not super cool. I go back and forth between a bunch of flashlights. For whatever reason, when you have a YouTube channel, everybody sends you flashlights if they can just in any way, shape, or form figure that you would use flashlights. I go between this and the Aft Raptor DX. The Raptor charges the same way this does. This gives me a couple other lighting options that I really like, including red light, green light, and blue light. Some of those are pretty useful on the street, but this is a pretty compact package that I really enjoy using. You can see all the wear and tear on this thing. It's one of those lights that I tend to go back to in between testing new flashlights. I've got the mount for my Axon camera right here. The body camera is at work where it belongs, trying to be downloaded along with 200 other Axon cameras. That seems to be a regular thing for most people in most departments, is trying to get that thing downloaded and keeping it charged. That's a relatively new thing for us within the last year, having to deal with body cameras and the logistics involved with it. So more to come on the channel about that in the future. That is my setup. The belt, the new pistol, the new basket weave belt that doesn't suck, the new handcuffs from Ask, the new lighting setup, and my radio, which definitely could use some work. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it, and maybe some suggestions of some things that I haven't thought of. I know I've brought up some of the problems that I have with all of my setups on here, and I always like to hear people's novel and interesting solutions to them, which is kind of the idea of doing all of these videos, is to give some of my novel and interesting ideas of how to do the job out to all of you, where maybe you can take bits and pieces of it and integrate it into what you're doing. Until next week, you guys be safe and take care of each other. That's been your free field training for today. While you're here, check out one of the other videos that we made, or down here, subscribe so you can see more. Or you could check out Patreon, where you can see how you can get your name put on the videos, like all these fine folks over here. I'll see you guys next time.